what you had planned to do at the start of the year. Well, speaking of start, good morning Uganda gets to start off right now. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and welcome aboard a brand new day. As we start off Tuesday, so many interesting things have happened locally, they have happened on the continent as well as internationally. But we'll be looking into the details of that. I don't do this alone. I do it with distinguished gentlemen. Good morning to you, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, Priscilla. I must say you look very smart this morning.
Thank you very much.
And of course, my colleague Felix, a lovely morning to you and to our precious viewer every morning who wake up to start the day. Today, Priscilla, I've chosen to begin with a message of hope. Please do. I know many people, some have lost hope, some are scared, but I want to tell you, please let fear not reign over you. When you talk about COVID-19, I've just seen statistics that in the last 7 days, we've had 1,652 people recover from COVID-19. So this is evidence that we can recover from this disease. We can recover from this disease. Do not lose hope. If you test positive, just know that many have recovered, and so you will recover. Let fear not dominate you, because when you're scared, it affects your immune system in one way or the other, and you can easily succumb to COVID-19. Allow me a very short prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come against the spirit of fear in this nation. May you give us the strength to overcome whatever comes our way. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Reverend Felix.
The word of God says, I have not given you a spirit of bondage to fear again. And that is in Romans 8. If any of you would holding your Bible, read. Actually, that whole chapter talks about how God seizes the spirit of fear in our homes, in our spirits, in our families, in our work, in everything that we do. And I must acknowledge Kirabo's appreciation of the fact that, as you have all said, in the Bible, for some of you who believe in it, God made lots of promises. And for every promise he made, henceforth became a covenant with human beings. And there is no way he will go back on that promise. So, he said in his own words, I have not given you the spirit of bondage to fear again. Now, every time we are in fear, we become of bondage. Let us not become prisoners of COVID-19. We can actually give a good fight. There's one of those statements that I love to say that, and for me, it has worked for me so much, that if you want to have a good fight with me, trust me, you can be a better fighter, but you can't stand the time. I can fight forever. And COVID honestly can't stand the test of time, even if it wants so much. Sooner or later, it's going to be away from this country, because this is not its place to stay. So please be encouraged, as Robert has said. Please deal with the issue of fear. Distract yourself, watch a movie, talk to someone, call someone, play a beat, work out, do something you like to do. Don't think much about it, but as of course you do all these things, do not forget to enforce or carry on with the SOPs. Make sure you sanitize, wash your hands, social distance, have your mask if you have to be in a crowd or in association of more than one person. It is key.
1,652 people have recovered. And remember, these not include those that have been treated from
at home.
Yeah. Only
these
those that have been in hospitals, where we've had days where people that test positive have about 1,000. So if you look at the numbers that are recovering compared to those that are died, they're less than even 10% that death will record. So this is evidence. But also something, Priscilla, that I was reading about fear. I grew up when I hear people saying a snake does not bite a baby. So ask myself, why? As I was reading about fear, I learned that when your body gets scared, there's some fluid it secretes. And you can't see it with physical your eyes, but what happens is the snake can detect that scent. A snake, a dog, and I think a lion. So once a mature person sees a snake, there is fear, and it will sense that you're scared and you're about to do any action. So that's why it comes for you. But a baby, innocently, they are not, so they don't secrete that. So that is how dangerous fear can be. When you come to a person's place, there's this dog. The moment a dog sees you, you get scared, you fear, then that fluid will come out of your body. So to easily attack you. So just fight fear.
Okay, let's fight fear. Thank you so much, Bishop Kirabo and Reverend Felix Nkunda. You can send tithe and offering to their mobile money numbers if you know. Yeah,
Actually,
they will bless you according to your tithes and offering.
Indeed. Really?
No, isn't that how they do it these days? According
Is it?
The ones of 50,000, you stand here. The ones over 100,000, the ones over 1 million, you stand there. Everyone receives a different.
You
even
sent MTN. Below 1 million.
Below 1 million.
And then the last, the 3,000 you
please note, if you had been categorizing yourself in the vulnerable group, you may not want to send this tithe offering until you receive your government funds.
But the lady who gave a baton, the Lord really valued that.
Kirabo, really?
So and the Bible says, freely you receive, freely you give.
No, but giving comes from the Spirit. You must be moved to give, not called to give. You must be moved to give. So, for all of you who preach, you move the crowd to give. Let them be filled with the word so they feel no resilience in giving. Not telling them, later, later. But anyway, thinking about, I was driving and I was sort of like thinking to myself, because I listened to some song, and I thought, if I was to marry any Ugandan celebrity, of course, ladies, just to be particular, I mean, being 2021.
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's very true. You need to be clear.
And I thought I would ask my brother and yourself. And I'll start with you, Priscilla.
You want us to select for you a woman?
No, it's just okay. You don't select a woman to marry a man.
No.
So he's telling us that if he was to get married to a celebrity, and a musical celebrity, right? We need to help him make a short list.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
Then what are you
I
saying?
meant to say. I thought about it and I was like, who would it be? So I kept on thinking, pondering in my mind. So I'm like, I'll ask you and Robert, let me start with you. If you were to choose any person, specifically a man, in the Ugandan domain of celebrities, who do you think it would be? We have Tata Sam. You don't know that guy? Chico, we have Amoti.
No, I would go for
Kirabo, we shall start with you and myself.
All right, well, a lot of interesting things have happened in the last 24 hours, especially locally, where we get to look at the vaccination exercise that has started since yesterday. It will continue today on the international scene of the African countries and how they are coping with COVID-19, as well as the politics on the rest of the globe. But starting off with the local stories.
And we'll begin with the vaccination exercise that commenced in Kampala yesterday. Turn-up was fair in Kampala. The exercise started late at many gazetted vaccination centers. The mass vaccination in Uganda commenced with focusing on people who first received the first jab, elderly, health workers and teachers. We managed to visit a couple of vaccination centers in Kampala, and the turn-up was really interesting. At some vaccination centers, like Nakawa Division and Kolo Airstrip, the vaccines arrived late. Past noon, the exercise had not started with a number of people waiting. At Kiswa Health Center, the vaccines arrived in time and a big number of people were vaccinated. They shared their experience on receiving the second jab after a number of social media contradictions that the jab is not valid. Those who were lucky to complete the AstraZeneca vaccine dose appeal to those in the struggle to complete the second dose and disregard social media reports about the jab.
Well, as vaccination continues in Kampala, you have the Kampala City Authority having vowed to offer full support to the Ministry of Health in the vaccination process. The support will be in terms of capacity building and transportation of vaccines to different destinations. Kampala Capital City Authority has laid out a plan to working with the Ministry of Health to ensure that city dwellers are fully vaccinated. The authority is also to offer human capacity to doctors who are to carry out door-to-door vaccination during this lockdown. The Deputy Director Administration, KCCA, Abel Mugurusi, said that health officials are overwhelmed and they are the reserve force to offer assistance in transportation, capacity building, among others, to COVID-19 task force to ease transportation of teams in the distribution of vaccines, contact tracing in the central areas that have greatly been hit by the pandemic.
We now move to security. Suspects have been charged over the double murder of General Katumba Amala's daughter Brenda Nantongo and his driver Haruna Kayondo, and the attempted assassination of General Katumba Amala. The charged persons are Serubura Hussein, Ismail and Nyanzi Yusuf Siraje. Since the gruesome event and attempted assassination, police has been doing all it takes to ensure they bring the culprits to book and parade them before court. Investigators since then have been in a tough time trying to reconstruct the scene of crime, looking at CCTV video footages of the suspect assassinators and ensure that they leave no stone unturned. However, the outcomes of the investigations point to two suspected men, namely that is a Serubura Hassan Ismail and Nyanzi Yusufu Siraje.
The suspects who appeared before Chief Magistrate Dr. Nsingiza Douglas were slapped with 2 accounts of murder and 1 account of attempted murder. Prosecution alleges that on 1st June 2021 at Shisasi Central Zone in Kampala District, Yusuf Nyanzi attempted to unlawfully cause the death of General Edward Katumba Wambala. Prosecution also contends that on 1st June 2021, Serubula Hussein murdered Nantongo Brenda, daughter to General Katumba, and Haruna Kayondo, his driver. Well, we shall trust the law to actually bring to justice the ones that murdered the daughter of the general alongside his driver. But at the end of the day, we pray that that is sooner than later. Over to the international news, Felix. What do we have?
Well, of course, international stories now. We'll be looking at the UN Human Rights Chief calls for reparation of racism. The United Nations Human Rights Council has urged global action, including reparations to make amends for racism against people of African descent. Now, it's in its new report also urges educational reforms and apologies to address discrimination. The findings cite concerns in about 60 countries, including the UK, Belgium, France, Canada, Brazil, Colombia, among others. Now, the study also began after the murder of George Floyd, an unarmed black man in the US who was murdered in 2020. Now, also the findings say protests over the Minnesota man's death and the conviction of a white policeman were a seminal point in the fight against racism. The UN report also based its discussion with more than 300 experts and people of African descent and seeks to push nations to take action to end racial injustices. Now, it found that police use of racial and profiling and excessive force was systemic in much North of America, Europe and Latin American countries. Now, of course, in other stories, we'll be looking at the US again. Forces in Syria attacked after air raid on armed groups. Now, Iran-backed armed groups have also exchanged fire with US-led coalition forces in the eastern Syria, a war monitor said on Monday. Now, after deadly US airstrikes on the groups in Iraq and, of course, Syria the previous night, coalition spokesperson Colonel Wayne Moroto said US troops were at forces did conduct a counter-battery artillery fire at the rocket launching position at the Syrian Observatory for the Human Rights, and Iran-backed armed group fired several shells at the US base in the eastern Syria, Al-Qama, an oil field, causing damage but not casualties, Al Jazeera also reported. Back to Africa, Ethiopia's Tigray conflict and unilateral ceasefire declared. The Ethiopian government has declared a ceasefire in the Tigray region 8 months after Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed government troops in the streets of Tigray and, of course, the capital in Mekelle. Now, all sides have been accused of carrying out mass killings and human rights violation, and more than 5 million people are in urgent need of blood aid, and the UN says at least 350,000 facing famine in this region. And of course, on Monday, reports began to emerge that the Tigrayan fighters who launched a new offensive last week had forced the interim administration from Mekelle. Well, basically, so much seen, and clearly we still see a lot of deaths, necessary or unnecessary, but sadly, I must say, Priscilla,
Well, it is sad. But on a lighter note, we do have the Euros that are taking place, and they're going all the way to 11th July. Yesterday, France had a tough game.
Did it?
Yes, it did.
How about Croatia?
Croatia had an impressive game, and Croatia has been one of those teams. The first time I saw Croatia was in their performance in World Cup in 2014, and they were incredible to the extent that their president actually came and watched their final games because they almost contended to be a World Cup winner. And now, very interesting to note that France could be packing their bags up and gone out of the Euros 2020. A sad story coming in from the world of sports. But Ruben Pima Chivirango will be here to give you the details of the Euros as the games did take place last night, and thereafter what's going to be looking like given the teams that are remaining in the race. Interesting to note, on this day now, our sports producer will be letting you know what that final was in 2008. Now, speaking of our sports producer, and that is Mr. Mwesi, today is his daughter's birthday, and that is Demi Nabawesi. Happy birthday to you, baby Demi. We love you so much, and thank you so much for always waking up to Good Morning Uganda and saying what Daddy does best. And so this song of the day is dedicated to you, baby Demi. Happy birthday.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, thank you so much for keeping it on UBC TV. We know a number of people are home and it is a mandate. Today we want to look at a very critical issue that has raised a lot of challenges, both the enforcement and of course people in this country. That is movement and movement permits. We must recall when the president spoke, he gave directives to fight the spread of COVID-19, and among which was restriction of movements. Now this was a mandate of the Ministry of Health, but under that is the office of the RDC and of course local councils as well that give travel documents and impounded and so much. Yesterday, interestingly, we saw police come out and said they are going to investigate that is powers of LCs when it comes to issuing that is these travel documents. They believe they have overstepped their mandate and there is abuse of office. Now this is some challenging time. We find that a person would want to move to a nearest place because of various inconveniences. And if such a document is not respected, what then happens? I'll begin with Priscilla. On a lighter note, Priscilla, are there times when you had to move in this time, either the first wave or now the second lockdown, and or you needed a document?
Where did you go?
Yes, I have experienced it before, and I remember I was actually I was going to work, so I had to access through the Ginger Road block, the Ginger Road roadblock, and the funders, they were very interesting. So they stopped me, and then I showed them my identification, and my identification showed that I am an essential worker. And then the car that I was driving still had a sticker to it, and they still did not really, when they could not, an ID and a sticker were not enough. So one of them actually got out their phone and they verified the sticker. So when they verified the sticker, that is when they were able to let me go. Yes, it was a very interesting experience.
But how easy was it to get this travel document? Say maybe LC or RDC, how easy was it?
Well, because at that time, the terms and conditions that were given to essential workers were you must have your ID that identifies you as a worker in that particular place, and then a sticker would be the complementary for you to be able to be allowed to access the roads as and where you was going. I did not really have an interaction with the LC letters, so because I did not need them given my particular
was on the road, and one of their observation has been
Felix has a good experience. He had
now having documents from the LC, and they believe the LCs are overstepping their mandate, and maybe they're also corrupt in a way. They're issuing out these very travel documents.
Experience.
Okay. Kirabo doesn't want my experience.
No, your experience is because Ugandans have
share
gone
your
through
experience
this.
because
No. When this story came up, I just thought it was a bit cumbersome. How, and I think most of the times, by the way, I must acknowledge that officers of law, and at any point, whether, because even LC are officers of law, even RDCs, and so are policemen, must use their absolute discretion whenever someone is presented before them. It is only sane for them to do it that way. For example, if you stopped me and I told you I am going to work, here's my ID, maybe the next question would be, why don't you have a pass? And I tell you why I don't have a pass. What does your mind tell you? Oh, in the mind
what
of
did the offended do?
No, of course no. For me, in my case, the policeman was trying to be a policeman, and probably also a bit of excitement. No, your number, your car is not registered. I don't know if the Ministry of Works, by the way, has issued permits to all institutions that should have these permits, or maybe they should, or if they're listening again, they should.
They're still issuing.
But they have informed the police, from what was told me, that police has been informed that every car on the road has been accredited.
Yes.
So if your car is not accredited by the ministry, I think they even have a system, because he got out his phone, was putting the number there, and that's when he was able to tell me, don't, your car is not registered or whatever. So I told him, hey, guess what? You know why? But I have to be at work, with or without the car. So you choose what we do. You can sit with me and we go up to where I'm going if you think I'm lying. So that was my experience in the morning. But I thought it was uncalled for. And I told him, and this is what I'll tell even you, my colleagues, that I don't think someone can wake up at 4 a.m. to come and check on town.
To locomote around town.
To come and check on
Spend
town.
some fuel.
That is Sawaya Queen Echariwo. Oh, you know, I don't think. But anyway, but back to Kirabo's question. One thing, and from what I said, that all of these people are enforcers of the law. They are officers, rather, of the law. Even the secretary of a LC, by the way, can give you a permit. And it is valid as long as their discretion is right when you presented yourself before them. Even if you don't get the LC, you can still move and present yourself wherever you have to present, as long as your discretion is valid. For example, you have an emergency, your child is sick at 6, or rather 2 a.m. in the morning. Now you look for chairman. Let's be honest. And Kirabo, maybe someone has a bike around. Do we have to first go to get to the RDC? Why I'm saying this is that officers of law at every level must let their discretion be active at all points. That's why we have, remember in the last lockdown, people used to die on roadblocks. It's true. But why? Last week, you beat up a nurse. Why? You see, police cannot think that this is the best time for it to show its role in this country. It has had the opportunity for the last 100 years.
Elections time.
It has had an opportunity.
Does not look at it as enforcing the law. If the law says, because let's look at the police side. If the law says that for a vehicle to be on the road, of course there's an element of discretion.
So Kirabo, the law does not bend.
But this is a police officer who is stopping
Felix is a general rule.
Yes.
Every general rule has exceptions. And that is the legal principle. That is the general rule. That every car on the road must have clearance. That is the general. But there are exceptions. Everyone has a right to life and freedom. That's the general rule. You steal and you start arguing for it. They'll take you to Resida. Because every general rule has exceptions. Because when you're crafting a general rule, there are scenarios you get it. I want to ask, have they given all doctors accreditation?
They're still issuing accreditation.
No, but do you think they'll give all of them?
Impossible. Impossible.
Do all doctors have cars? You're putting your eyes off. The person they don't want to be in town is Kirabo, not his Benz. The enforcement is not against the car.
So what happens? Just on a lighter note, Felix, I love what you brought out.
I can park the car.
If this is a very interesting bit of it in this discussion. You're targeting a car, but supposing I walk to my destination.
That is what he's saying.
So the interest should be the person, the car.
Yes.
That's why you don't judge. And these people, they look at a car and they think they want to enforce against the car.
No, but you see, while they're enforcing against the car, there are passerbys, pedestrians on the road that are moving. So
you're stopping me, ask him where he's going. So you're simply victimizing people because they have cars. You say, but
also, Felix, there's an element of illegality here that police has come out to notice that there are people that actually will disguise under this and come to town.
So let's go back to the point here, Kirabo. The point is that the police believes all things, that LC ones are not really doing the work that they're supposed to be doing to the best of their ability. Let's go back to the drawing board. The powers that were invested into the LCs were given to them as a directive from the president to help administer SOPs at the local level, given the lockdown that we are in. And so the nearest leader to the person is the local council. And the local council will help this person to do what it is in the manner of emergency. So the local council has been given the power to determine if your case is an emergency and it is worthy you getting a documentation to protect you while you attend to your emergency. It could be medical, it can be anything, but it's not limited to medical. Now, when you get this letter, and I've had the privilege of looking at this slip, it identifies who you are, where exactly you stay, what your issue is that is taking you to wherever. Then it identifies that so and so is moving from this locality and going to this destination in particular, and they're going to do it for this period of time. And then it is dated and it is stamped by a KCCA stamp. The one that I have looked
Government
at has
of
a
Uganda.
KCCA stamp, and it has a date, and it comes with a signature.
And the time when it's going to expire.
Yes. So that documentation, if it is verified and stamped, then that should be that an authority has permitted this person to be on the road to do whatever it is that they have to do, whether they're driving a car, whether they are walking. The other day in Mengo, I saw a police officer. You know, it was coming to 7 o'clock, and people were walking back home. The officer stopped a lady and was really intimidating the lady. But the lady was trying to alert the officer that I'm within my vicinity. I'm moving from my workplace. I'm going to my home. But the offender did not want to hear that. For him, you're not supposed to be on the road. You understand? So now, how do you expect such people, the Wananchi, to defend themselves when they meet face to face with law enforcers, such as the police, who happen to be more visible and on ground than any other law enforcers when they want? Because they have to protect their locals, they have to protect their members, and they have to help their members.
And this
now,
is where, Priscilla,
even if you go to the doctor and the doctor requires you to come back the next day, you still have to go back to the LC1, get a revised document that will allow you to be on the road the next day. There's also consideration, and I like how people have actually thought outside the box, that even if I can't drive, or even if I'm using a border, I will have to register the border by name and by motor bill that they're using are there. So what exactly does police want to investigate?
Police is looking at it in this. It says, yes, Ugandans are crafty, and they believe either LCs have been manipulated, that they are issuing documents where even they are not necessarily very important or urgency. So they're taking advantage of it, that Felix would come to a Kirabo, we are within the same vicinity, I want to travel, give me a document. Now, and they're not responding to the call where these documents should only be issued where they are necessary.
Do you know that Uganda saying that Ukokolo Ugeyangana? Do you know of it? It is the same scenario. Police blaming LCs for being crafty, you say? I don't know if there's a word. Who's more craftier than the other?
According to the police, the report. According to the anti-corruption report that came out most recently,
the LC is more corrupt.
I know the police. The police is on top of that list.
And why am I bringing that at inception, Robert? You see, me, I always want to us to have lenses of reality away from the excitement. Sometimes our brothers in police also.
I agree with you. Sometimes there's excitement about this.
Because Robert, enforcement, and they know these things. Kirabo, you're enforcing against Kirabo, who's driving, but another 1,000 are passing you on feet. I just don't ever get what that means. It's the car.
But also, Felix, you've seen police enforce against power entering town who are moving on foot. Pedestrians turn back home.
Sometimes.
Since the last address regarding these guidelines, Kampala has become a city of running battles between police, vendors, and people that want to access town.
Robert,
they ask you where are you going, turn back, please go back.
Let us be honest. We have a big problem in this country, and probably we should have first acknowledged that we are in a very bad time as a country. The corona outbreak has surpassed our expectation. We didn't see this coming. We are at a very bad stage. Nevertheless, we also celebrate the enormous achievements. You talked about the recoveries this morning. We need to adhere to these directives as a matter of fact. All right? And this is something else the president said, that sometimes these officers, they get excited and they enforce funny things. If you remember, even in the last...
Yes, I remember that.
They beat up a baby chungwa. Clear. Very clear, by the way, this time round. Let officers cut down to 10%. public offices, even private, those who can. He gave his direction. However, the Minister of Works, and he was particularly even mentioned the name of the minister, he said Katumba will come out with, General Katumba will come out with it, how we'll work it out and see who is essential. There are people who may not get these clearances, all right? But they have to move for the sake of the times we are in. That's why I've asked you, do you think Ministry of Workers or technicians or what all this?
Laboratory.
For example, look at media houses. It is the only thing that is alive and running in times of COVID. And you know the role of media in times like this. How many people are you going to accredit? But someone has presented themselves to you with an identification. You get the point. That guys, I'm a reporter, maybe here, but Nikagari Kangi, go back. Go back. Where is your clearance? Now,
because the Kagari either does not befit the fact that you're a reporter.
You get the point. That's what I'm talking about. Our brothers in police.
Social status discrimination.
That is also true. The woman you're talking about, I've seen police people bullying people. And others, the police officers also get bullied.
Actually, I don't know for what reasons. Even if I pass, I've never been stopped.
Because of, I don't know.
Kirabo, you're talking about Machinde. In Machinde, who doesn't know you in Machinde, really?
I won.
He used to prepare matches for goats. And I take Machinde. So you
but everyone knows
but honestly speaking, Kirabo, I have seen people, and you see, we're talking about things that are evidence-based. Last lockdown, we had people who lost lives. Mothers gave birth at checkpoints. That's not what we want to see. We believe that every officer of law has the right discretion of judgment. That whoever presents themselves before them, they use that judgment. And some people are, honestly, by the way, some people are literally fraudsters. They're not going anywhere. Some people are doing dubious work. That's why you see many cars on the road. Some people are not supposed to be roads. And yet those are the people
that they're
who they let to go because of corruption.
There's one incident that I've noticed of late Felix and Priscilla. The president cleared cargo trucks, yeah? But I'm seeing so many trucks, pickups, these so-called...
That's the problem.
And the person is just driving because he has this particular car. And you tell me, I can go anywhere. I have a pickup. Nothing on, no clear purpose why you're driving that, but because it is a pickup, so they can go anywhere. I think there's some kind of...
that's what I'm saying, Judge. Even a person who has a pickup, you should stop them, ask them, and you can ask them to turn back because of your discretion, depending on their explanation, where they are going, where they are from. Well, you know, and now, last time I saw one of the RCCs, I think of Nakawa, saying we shall arrest anyone past 7, whether you're approved to work or not to move. And I was thinking, look at this guy. You see, that, and me, I talk against self-kingdomization. People want to make... People want to think that you don't say such things. We are going to arrest whether you have clearance as long as it is after curfew. Who are you? Who are you? Your city statements will make people die in houses. People having attacks, trauma, stress, what? So you see, in as much as we are enforcing, let's be courteous. This is still all our country as people.
Finally, Priscilla,
let us not just do things out of excitement, as the word is. Police is needed, but also Ugandans are needed in this country.
From Felix, police is needed, Ugandans are needed. Please use your rightful sense of judgment when enforcing this. So, your last remarks on this, Priscilla?
No, I've actually just remembered, even before we went into the second phase of lockdown, just with the guidelines and the curfews and SOPs that were there previously, we have seen people dying at the hands of police because police is shooting at them because it's past curfew.
Oh yes, by the way.
So many people have died in that incident. And it is demeaning, it's painful to end the life of someone's child before actually analyzing as to why someone's child is on the road. And police's job shouldn't be that you must use force.
When they hear the word force,
police's role, coercive should be the last resort. the last resort. For example, the border guy that was killed trying to cross the border, you should have shot the tires, not the human being. Shoot the tires, he falls down. Yes, he'll get bruised, but he will have his life, and then you sort it out according to the law enforcement that follows thereafter.
A child was shot by
a child that was shot. If a person is past curfew, don't shoot at them. Arrest them, take them in, answer and plead their court case accordingly. But coercive force is not what we want to see. They have really been gentle with the people of Masaka in helping them adhere to the SOPs. And you can clearly see there's a difference. There's peace. People are, you know, more responsive. But when you put in force, responsiveness of people, you're just instead causing them to do what you don't want them to do. It's just a matter. That's how nature responds. You tell me not to do, I'm actually going to do what you don't want me to do. So at the end of the day, I would appeal to law enforcers, police and whoever else. I would appeal to them that now is the time that you please help us Ugandans to adhere to the SOPs in the most meaningful manner. Coercive forces should be last resort. Yes. Well,
I want to thank you, Priscilla and Felix. Felix says yes, police should use their right sense of judgment when a person approaches these operations or roadblocks. Please, it's not all about handling the law in isolation of circumstances. But for me, I want to call for being responsible citizens. As Ugandans, that includes police. Let's be responsible. Let you not just violate these guidelines because you just want to do that. But also the forces, let them also be very responsible. To the LCs, yes, they're questioning the documents that you're issuing. Maybe there could be an element of corruption and all these feeling for the people that really elected you into office. Be responsible, because this is a public office and abuse of office is a crime in the laws of our country. When we return, we'll be looking at what is trending in the print media, as Priscilla will be preparing to tell us more regarding the traffic and how you get to town in case.
The traffic, as we saw yesterday, is at the roadblocks. That is where you'll find the traffic here.
So elsewhere is the traffic. But this and more from Priscilla, I and Felix will be returning with Press Review. Good morning. Keep it on UBC TV.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
COVID-19 chija kubwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear a mask properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Second day of the week as we count down the 42 days of lockdown. Our main purpose here is to inform you, entertain you, and of course act as a healing balm to the stress, the depression that you could be going through. So every morning make it a date with us on Good Morning Uganda, so that you know whatever is happening, even when you're within the confines of your home. We'll promise, and we've done that, and we'll continue to do the same. It's time we look at some of the stories in the dailies. I have the New Vision and my colleague has the Daily Monitor. I'll begin with the big headline there. Government blacklists 8 labor export firms. The companies were involved in human trafficking and forgery. That's on the front page of the New Vision. Then looking at what is happening in Parliament, Olanya, that's the Speaker of Parliament, speaks out on his absence. And still we see German tourists hike Mountain Renzori. Remember, they still have a green light when it comes to movement and entering into the country. Then Museveni COVID vaccine in 4th trial stage. Yes, hope coming our way. That's why I say please stay with hope. Anytime soon, major breakthroughs are going to be done in the fight against COVID-19. Then there are over 180 offers in Uganda Airlines. That is for you. And COVID-19 experts advise expectant mothers. There is so much for expectant mothers there, advice for you. Then regarding what's happening in the markets, that is market women vendors cry out over huge losses. The New Vision also looks at the plight of these ladies. Then it comes to studying at home. Today is Senior 1 Biology and Senior 6 Chemistry and Mathematics. The New Vision has brought you that. Still security, where we see 2 charged over Katumba's shooting. Is one of the stories that were in our news bulletins. Over to you, Nkunda.
Now, on the Daily Monitor, alleged Kawesi killer shot Katumba, police comes out to say, and that is a Siraj Nyanzi Yusuf, 46, a herbalist from Chanja village, Nakawa division, also 38, Serubara Ismail, who's 38 years. Now, chaos as COVID-19 vaccination resumes countrywide, and we see here health workers administers AstraZeneca vaccine to residents of Chirombe Machinde division. Now, of course, also we're looking at Tessa and Luca's story of their time in a Jumani district and COVID-19 crisis slipping out of control. Now, explosion rock Eastern's DRC Congo, and also at least a couple of tenders in the papers for you here. And Buganda rejects Museveni claim on Milo tenure, and over 900 have beat COVID or in Soroti district only. Now, Diana Atwine, the permanent secretary of health, Ministry of Health, has blamed the current oxygen crisis in the country on high global demand that has affected supplies. But also, Mo Farah, the British athlete, will not defend his 5,000 meters and 10,000 Olympics title after he failed to qualify for the Tokyo Games there. But of course, a photo here from the archives. But also today in history, Uganda participates in East Africa's military games, and German advance against USSR there. Of course, a couple of statistics here on how we stand in terms of COVID. The cases so far, we have 79,000, deaths 956, but also recoveries are quite also energizing. That is over 50,000 recoveries, and so far vaccinated people are 800,000. That is a good achievement.
Yes, I'll begin with that in the New Vision, where we look at new confirmed cases. That is, we stand at 695, new death 53, and when we look at total deaths so far from the last person who succumbed to COVID in Uganda, stand at 956. Cumulative confirmed cases 79,000. 89. But we look at recoveries, that is 51,800 who have recovered from COVID-19 in this country. So there is a ray of hope, and please do not lose hope. You can still recover. Know your member of parliament, South constituency, still on COVID second wave. Facts and myths. Dr. Diana Atwine, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, brings you and answers some of the questions that are in the minds of Ugandans. We look at today in history. It was on this date, the very month, but the year 1993, when UCB laid off 300 staff. And that was something that affected people at that time. Then still on this very day, that is this very date and month, but the year 1993, we see Organization of African Union leaders met. What they discussed, more to that. Yes.
Now, of course, in sports here, Express comes out to say Mulindwa comes out to say give Express title, Viper Mulindwa. Now, just like SCCA in 1991, and of course Vipers last season, Express could be awarded the league title if FUFA follows the 75% rule with 4 rounds left in the 2020-2021 season. Now, of course, also Safari Odile leaves Warubi with life lessons, and back finds closer in Class C Middleton, and of course Southgate wants to amend history. Now, final chance for Kiplimo to qualify for the 5,000 meter race there at the Olympics, and of course sadly fare thee well, Peter Ofong.
In the New Vision Sport, yes, Mulindwa gave the title to Express. And also we look at statistics regarding the Euro 2020 fixtures and results there for you, but Ruben will be giving you more of that. The Numba, a champion, that is Mary Numba, scored 849 goals for Lightning. But these and more, Ruben will be giving you more information.
Well,
but before we leave, Felix, we had unfinished business. I want to remember, had unfinished business that you started. Who would you marry among the celebrities, just like you put it to Priscilla?
Yeah, if I was to marry a celebrity in this country, I think I would marry. No. I would marry. I think I would marry Cinderella Sani.
Okay. I love that. So Cinderella. Okay.
And
the big
Kirabo.
Cinderella.
And you?
I'd go for Juliana Kanyamozi.
Oh, which Juliana? Which Juliana?
You asked and I'm giving my choice.
There are many Juliana.
Juliana is very clear. Juliana.
I just want to ask you something as we sign out to let Priscilla take on. There's something quite interesting in the papers here that I just fell on. Now, stop making fun of sexual abuse victims. This is in the terms of cyberbullying. There's been a couple of stories on social media.
Process by process?
Really?
Is it what you're referring to?
That and many others. I think we always turn people's life stories and pain into fun. We have seen this happen. We saw the story of the late Iga. We saw now, most recent is that what you want to call process by process. But people come out to speak of agony, to seek assistance. And the country and the world just takes it up for fun.
Now, I'm happy sometimes the authorities, I saw the new minister, that is for ethics and integrity, taking it over.
There's nothing, whatever the minister, in fact that is even the Priscilla, what you say about this cyberbullying in terms of sexual harassment?
Defense, we need to find protection, and that has to be sooner than later, because this is the new form of bullying. It used to be physical bullying, but now people have taken to hiding behind accounts, hiding behind virtual masks to actually cause others unrest and cause them stigmatization, discrimination, among other forms of cyber bullying, which is not allowed. So I would appeal to the cyber office, especially in police. Now more than ever, they need to be very vocal, because I know they've received a number of cases. We have hosted them here and they've talked about a number of cases, but it's only the law that is stopping them from actually administering the necessary punishment to the nature of offense.
Lastly, have you ever been bullied on the internet?
No.
Have you ever felt like you've been attacked?
No.
Oh.
Oh no, sexually, yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely, yeah.
I thought you had it as like
no. I have in the inbox.
So you are prophesying.
No, I know it always comes. I tell us you're on TV. You've done.
The reality is, and because that world, that virtual world is one that is not, it's still new on so many levels, that it doesn't have enough security to the so many platforms that we engage in, and so people will hack into these particular platforms and then do whatever it is that they want to do, and you as a victim, you don't even know where to run to, you don't even know how to start.
But if you ever see the person who is abusing you, you'll cry for them. People sit in the comforts of their corridors, of their funny places, wherever they be, insulting people who have done things they can hardly do a quarter of.
And to me what hurts is the way even some have made great names and have very huge followings, yet we know that actually what they are doing is morally wrong, but we choose to support them. I want to tell you, many times I look through people with big followings on internet, and pardon me if you're using this for the right purpose, you find people that are obscene, people that are attacking others, and they have huge followings. You look at a person, how many followers? Check the comments, they are posting, you're like, God,
you know what they do?
What happened to our moral fabric of this country? If we enjoy this, then we won't condemn it. That is the problem.
I think one of these days we should on our media platforms.
One of these days I should do a live.
Overrated. They should prepare you.
But anyway, let Priscilla get us to town, and of course later on we shall have the weather updates, but also Chira will be back in the GMU agenda to discuss something of tropical importance.
Well, I'm still digesting Chirabo's choice of marriage for celebrity, given the terms and conditions that do apply. But speaking of terms and conditions that do apply, we've just been having a dialogue about police and how it's actually managing the SOPs. One of the SOPs is that people should stay within their localities and they shouldn't be moving from one place to another. Determinants of those movements should be guided by those that were given authority, and that is LC1s, 5s, and in accordance, you do have the resident district office that is there to also help you make your movements in accordance. Now, speaking of accordance, we want to check the area of Mengo today and probably end up in Masanafu and see what the traffic is looking like in this part of Rubaga division. We get to see Mengo, where you do have Kenjo, and you also do have Mengo Hospital, which does not indicate any traffic jam. You would be expecting that there's a lot of movement, most especially around Mengo Hospital, because it's one of the centers for one, immunization, the vaccination for COVID-19. Also, people have to still get to hospital, mothers have to give birth, will be treated, because COVID-19 is not the only disease. We have other diseases that people are suffering from, and they still need the medical attention. So in that regard, we get to see that the rest of Mengo area does not have much jam. It's all a green light, meaning that there's just a few cars on the road. We get to see Canon Apollo Chivebulaya road is also not bringing in as much traffic as you would be expecting. Of course, it is a short or connecting road to Wakaliga. You get to have the likes of Wakaliga route. This is Sir Albert Cook Road, and they all do not have indicators of traffic. Now, I want to end up in Masanafu and see what traffic is looking like, because I know on just this particular route we're going to be taking, there's about 4 roadblocks there by police to be able to manage the residents in this particular area. So taking the route past Ndeje University, which is the Kampala branch, we get to see that there's actually not recorded movement that is being indicated by the satellites, indicating that people in their homes are managing to stay at home, as is the guideline, for 42 days. Then we do have a green light that does appear thereafter, and this green light shows you that there are vehicles on this particular road, and this is traffic that is heading to Kampala, probably through Mengo, where we have just left, but it's just individual cars. Then we get to Lusaze, where you do have the Lusaze Trading Center. Now, Lusaze Trading Center is one place where you're going to be finding a police roadblock on Sentema Road. So be mindful of that and make sure that you have the right documentation. Still on Sentema Road, now we do have an orange line here, and this orange line should be an indicator that there's another police roadblock here that is stopping these vehicles from moving and continuing to Rusaze, and they're managing that also. Then we get to see the rest of it. We are heading into Lugala. Lugala Trading Center is another one that also has a police post, and it has a roadblock equally to manage the traffic and also trade. It's not just traffic that police is managing, but the flow of trade, because shops are still open. People still have to do business to support the residential areas in order to survive through COVID-19. People still need to go out and buy the salt, and the shop has to have salt, meaning the shopkeeper has to get the salt from somewhere else. So Lugala is another place that has, you will be expecting a roadblock there. Another roadblock still in Lugala is appearing, and that is where you would be seeing it. These orange zones here are showing you that those are indicators of a roadblock that is in the area of Lugala. Away from that, past St. Andrew's Catholic Primary School, we get to see that the rest of Sentema Road does not have much traffic. Now, this would be the fourth roadblock that you would be experiencing still on Sentema Road. This is a very long straight, and it stretches all the way and enters or intercepts with the Kampala Northern Bypass, which we are going to be seeing shortly. And there you do have it. Now, Sentema Road does feed into the Kampala Northern Bypass, and for traffic that is trying to access wherever it is they're going through the bypass is also having a roadblock here. You're not just going to get out of these areas of residency and then just expect to join the bypass. You will find a roadblock on that route that will have to question and ensure that you are the right candidate to be on the road at this time of the day. And this causes us to enter into the Masana full roundabout that intercepts with the Kampala Northern Bypass. And obviously for the bypass, you would be expecting to see mostly trucks, lorries, canters. You do have your double cabins, any cargo carrying vehicle, and border are the ones that are permissible majorly on the road without so much as a hindrance. So that's what the traffic is looking like. Of course, if we are to follow the Kampala Northern Bypass, we're going to see where else it does connect us into, and we see how the traffic is flowing there equally. But as you can see, there's still not much traffic as you would be expecting on a normal day. Intercepting with Hoima Road, you would be expecting that there's so many vehicles, especially the public transport would be used, causing a lot of havoc on these roundabouts, but still we're not seeing evidence of that. So thank you so much, Ugandans, for actually adhering to the SOPs. Just to remind you, you must wear your mask. Now that is a must, and if you can, do wear double masks so that you ensure that as you're moving, if you're going to the shop, please don't assume that because the shopkeeper is your friend, they don't have COVID-19. And that's the absurd story of us. We think that because you know someone, they can't have COVID-19, or they can't have been in an area or a place or a house that has a pass. So you get to the shop, you put your mask down and you interact, and Lord knows we are ensuring that our masks are on regardless of if we are friends or anything. Then also make sure that you sanitize. Carry with you a sanitizer. Teach your children to sanitize. When people come around, make sure that your children do sanitize. And I've seen this in so many homes and families where children actually will not let you in unless you sanitize. They will bring it out to you and they will spray your hands and ensure that you sanitize. Then you have access to the house. And then also, please be vigilant while you're sending the border person to get you what he has to get you. When you are interacting with this person, please note that they have been with so many other people, and in any of those cases, one way or another, maybe they have caught COVID-19 or something like that. So you still have to be vigilant and ensure that while you're interacting with them, giving or getting you goods, you are covered fully in a mask. Protect yourself to protect your family, protect your community, you protect your district, and we protect Uganda as a whole. Now, speaking of protection, we do have to protect the climate equally, because with bad climate, we're going to have bad life. We're going to breathe in carbon dioxide instead of oxygen, because we are not taking care of our climate. Now, joining me this morning as we are crowning up June to talk about climate is Kenyana Molen. All right, so as Kenyana is going to be joining us talking about weather, of course, globally, one of the campaigns that UN has put out is to help African countries with carbon dioxide harvesting. Most recently, we have seen the first recipient of the UN donations in this regard being Gabon, and Gabon is 90% of a country that is heavily and densely populated by forests. However, those forests have been under attack in most recent times because they have been facing deforestation majorly, and also the encroachment of agriculture onto forestry land has been one of the issues that they've been facing, and that has in turn affected not just the climate in Gabon, but it does affect the climate within the neighboring countries of Gabon, and it does then affect the climate across Africa. It is a cycle, but it starts with one. Also, we do have Kenya that is fighting deforestation heavily. Now, you know, our neighbors, Kenya, are very well, if we can't say very, very heavily invested in terms of tourism, and one of those places that do enjoy tourism are forest areas, because most of their big reserves are in foresty areas. Now, when you do have encroachment on wildlife and reserve, then you do have encroachment on forestry. Yes, we do make sense that in Africa we're still using charcoal as a means to an end, but then when it comes to encroaching on forestry, we need to understand that it does affect the cycle of the climate. It's one of those things that those days it used to be warm at about this time, but it no longer is. It's simply because we are not taking care of our ecosystem, and we are not trying to keep it in its most natural state. Now, just think about people who do come up and do charcoal as a business. When you go to the forest, you cut down the forest. Now that means that you have caused the ground not to be able to distribute nutrients accordingly, and some of these ground areas are not going to be well managed in terms of nutrients. Then you're going to burn the wood in order to get charcoal, and that wood, as you're burning, it's going to emit gases into the air that are going to be poisonous to the air, and this is air people that are breathing in. Then comes the wind, and it's going to blow that poisonous air onto the next village, and people in that village are going to breathe in that air, and maybe 1-2 children have asthma in that village. Then that child is going to get an asthmatic reaction simply because of what we are doing, what you and me are doing. Yes, we want to earn money out of it, but it is in the long run affecting the cycle of life, and so we must guard and protect the nature around us so as to be able to have climate that is suitable for the different regions. We have plateau areas, of course. We do have tropical areas, we do have savanna areas, we also have the sub-Saharan part of Africa, and the desert parts of Africa. Now, all these may be in different zones or parts of Africa, but in one way or another, the monsoon winds in the north of Egypt. Now, when those winds come down to maybe East Africa, they're broken down by nature such as forests, and these forests will help break down the monsoon winds, and then that cycle will be stopped and its destruction will be under control. So these are some of the things that you need to put into consideration when you are doing what you are doing, especially for agriculturalists. Now, I know that agriculture is the big thing under lockdown, and everyone is choosing to plant something into the ground, but make sure that you cultivate or till that land. There shouldn't be any caveras, bottles. The other day we were passing in Namwongo, and there was flooding, and there was a lot of bottles, water bottles, that came onto the road and Buvera. This shouldn't be the case. There's disposal bins all over and around you. Please make sure that you dispose of the plastics in a nice way so that you can protect the land. Otherwise, we're going to have issues because the land is not protected. We're going to have floodings on the road and so many other issues. But Molen is the expert in this part. Good morning to you, Molen. All right, Molen's. Okay, the link is having an issue, so we will continue this conversation with her tomorrow. It's still Good Morning Uganda as we're crowning up the month of June. We do have Good Morning Uganda agenda that is coming up, and then later on Ruben Pima Chivirango is going to come up with a sports update. You do have France that has packed out because of penalties, and everyone is putting so much pressure on Mbappe not even scoring a single goal in the entire tournament. And then how the Swiss have swiftly gotten into the quarterfinals is another discussion, and others have gone out to say that the quarterfinals are having underdogs all through. So the Euros 2020 is definitely one that has